Hey, what's up guys, it's your boy Patience. I decided to come at you guys with a little new one. So in this one, I want to go kind of taking a tour around the Pluto system, which is one of my favorite systems personally. We can see Pluto, we can see Pluto 1, we can also see one of the, I guess you can say, asteroids in the background, which would be Kerberos. So we're going to go check that out in full detail. What I love about this title, guys, Space Engineers, is the amount of detail that we have on majority of these planetoids, and also the scope and scale. Like I always forward onto you guys, everything that you can see on the screen right now is traversable. I can go anywhere, I can do anything in the time that I want to damn well do it, guys, which is what makes this amazing and perfect and brilliant. It gives freedom to the player, it gives information, and it gives scope and scale. This truly is a sandbox, guys, an open world sandbox. Now let's not get things out of context here. You have open world. Open world is being able to traverse around any object the way that I am here, without any restrictions. Free roam, there are restrictions. I wouldn't be able to scale around this whole asteroid here. And obviously a sandbox is doing the exact same thing just around the entire darn universe, guys. So be careful what you're purchasing there. So this is me around Kerberos, just getting a nice full descriptive identification kind of case scenario on this little object. As you can see, we got the trio shot going on, and now what I want to do is I want to kind of go to Pluto 1 at some stage, so I can check it in a little more detail, and then from there I want to go to the Heart Nebulae. From the Heart Nebulae, I want to go flying over to the Orion cluster. Now as you can see, I can look in any direction. Anything that I point at and anything that I touch, I can travel to, guys. Any star, any bright object, anything within that Milky Way cloud, that dust cloud, I can go anywhere. And that's what I truly do love about this title, guys. It's something that really does make me feel really true, open in mind, and free from thought, as it were, as I'm completely lost in awe, which I think is magnificent. Another thing that I truly do love about this is that you can see the depth and the range. You can kind of get an idea with what's close to you and what's quite, at a farther distance. And to travel to any of these things is not tricky at all. You will see when I start traversing to a few other objects in just a little moment. But all I have to do is scroll my mouse wheel, guys. As you can see here, I'm moving at 3.59 kilometers per second. If I scroll my mouse wheel, guys, I'll start moving a lot faster. Moving meters per second is very old school. Moving kilometers in space just doesn't make any sense. There's too many astronomical units per unit within the universe to be considered moving at meters per second. The vast expanse is far too immense, I guess you could say, to try to consider speed at such a degree. So that has to be elevated, and in here in SpaceEngine, it's been done, and it's been done very well. Now granted, I'm not using a spaceship to traverse. This is just free camera movement, which I think is again amazing. So as you can see here, I'm heading to Pluto, but as I can see that Pluto 1 is a little bit closer, so I'll make that my first port of call. But Pluto is my favorite in the Sol system. obviously besides Earth, because Earth is obviously livable. It's where all my friends are, my loved ones, and where my interests are, and where my memoirs lay. So and it's obviously the most precious out of all. If you're anything like me, you believe in the Holy Spirit that created all living things. I'm not necessarily religious, but I most certainly do believe that there is a being out there that said, I love human beings, and I'm going to create for human beings, and I'm going to prep a world for human beings. And I also believe that for some reason or another, his love is being detached from us, because we're left with so much proof that there is love. One of them being oxygen, one of them being language, one of them being feelings, etc, etc, etc. So it's these things that I love when I get my hands onto these titles. It also broadens my mind, because I think one day in the future, when Earth is overpopulated, what happens? Are we supposed to kind of go into a free-for-all kind of state and start kind of like tackling each other to get our hands on the first homes we can get our hands onto? Is this how it was supposed to go, like a bloodshed, blood sport kind of thing? Or did that loving Holy Father kind of say to himself, one day I want all of these worlds to be filled with human beings, and we'll always sing out with joyful cries towards him, of nothing but happiness and stuff. So maybe one day in the future, in a very vague, distant future, an unbelievable one as it were, maybe there will be a way for us to travel through space in a better way than what we're seeing here on screen, in a more maybe loving way, a more safer way, just maybe, so that we can go see our long distant loved ones at the other side of the universe, once human beings have grown to such a degree. So it's these kind of things that I kind of think about, and it's these kind of things where I kind of feel like get passionate, and that's why I do love getting my hands onto these kind of titles. So as we can see here, I'm at the I believe this is the Heart Nebula. I want to check out maybe one star or two, just to see if there's any worlds for us to live upon, because I find that to be interesting. As you can see, everything that's moving past me here, I can go traveling to, you guys. And if I scroll my mouse, well, like I said, I can control my speed. The only thing missing is the ship. So once you do employ a ship in this, unfortunately they have gone with the kind of newbie route where you're moving at only so fast a speed per second. But we got to take into consideration that once you're in space, guys. Meaning there's no limit in space. There's 0 G, which means there's zero maths. If there's zero maths, that means there's no energy, there's no equations applied to you or your vessel, which means there's no limit to the speed that you can move at, you might assume. But as you can see here, I'm between two stars. Between two stars, you're likely to find a lot of gravity, you might assume. Why would you assume that? Because they're gripped to each other via gravity. If you're between two things that are manifested with gravity, chances are it's going to be like you're heading towards the bottom of the ocean, you might think. Once you come out of or the second you start going past that that realm of that threshold, I guess you could say, well then things start getting tight, and then you might get squished to unrecognizable situations. Anyway, here what I'm doing is I'm going to take like a 15-minute I guess you would say like a cruise from here over to the Orion system, which is one of the most beautifulest kind of transitions. It's just coasting over there, guys, just chilling, and the idea is just to talk my way over. Why the Orion system, you might say? Because it's one of my favorite systems. Why is it my favorite system? Because when I was young, I was always fascinated with Egypt. Why was I fascinated with Egypt? Because they built the pyramids. They were very, in ways, they were like primitive, but they were very mysterious because they had a lot of knowledge. And the way how they built those pyramids were very technical. It's being said that it's hard to replicate, even up to this day, the way that they built those pyramids. And the purpose of the pyramids were very intricate, very sophisticated, one might say. Why? Because its purpose was able to serve the entire planet with energy. I've heard via documentaries. I've also watched a lot of documentaries on the Egyptian empire. Not only that, but also religiously, they were a very strong empire, I guess it would be, or world power back in their heyday, and a very respected one at that. Obviously they had kings that they would name Pharaoh, and the kings were kings. They didn't stand behind kind of like, well, it's not known to, they did have like, I guess it would say, they weren't prophets, they were like religious guys, like popes and stuff, I can't remember what you call them, that would kind of like stand in a strong and firm position. But atop that obviously was the pharaoh. But my point being is, I don't think they had like a parliament or like a government that would stand. He probably had these soldiers, etc. But if I'm not mistaken, he was the king, and he addressed his nation. There was no like kind of deterring from that. He was quite boisterous in that regard. Taking that into consideration, if you're coming from a Christian religion, Christianity, which was a religion that I was first introduced to, then the Egyptian king was known to have taken a strong opposition against the Holy Father, because he believed in, obviously, his gods, it was taught, and this led to him not wanting to give up the sons of God, which were the Israelites. These were at that time, by the Christians' knowledge, God's chosen people, and they were obviously being held by the Egyptians as slaves, I believe, to build the pyramids, and it said, it reads that it was Moses that allowed or that freed the Israelites from captivity. But that story goes a little bit deeper, and it is actually an interesting one to look into and read up on if you haven't already, or if you're unaware of it. You don't necessarily have to be a religious person to look into it, but it is something that is, I guess you could say, well known amidst a lot of religious people. As you're in a religious country and you have religious friends, it'd be nice to read up on a few stories or events so that you can kind of better correlate with them in conversations, etc, etc, etc. Anyway, that's why the Egyptians were one of my fondest kind of civilizations on the planet, and I'm always kind of interested in the Egyptian culture. And not only that, but the pyramids also had a strong link connected with the stars, a magnificent, quite mystical one as well, might I add, which kind of points towards their intellect, their intelligence. They were into, I'm not sure if the term is divination. or astrology, I think is the term, where they kind of like looked at the stars and, you know, guided their way, or used the stars to guide their way, to light their step, light the way for their step, as it were. So I found this to be very, very, very fascinating. With just that alone, you can see just how deep and interesting the Egyptian culture actually was, and technically actually is. And it was very unfortunate that they did kind of fall out of the way of that global empire, that global world power, as it were. Again, that goes into another deep and interesting story, from both kind of historic standpoint and a religious standpoint, but very intriguing, interesting to say the least. So that's why I'm fascinated with this system, my darn self, and that's why I love these kind of simulations, because I can actually take a trip to these mystical stars that's had strong significance within our history, humankind's history, up to this very day. It also stands as a strong symbolic instrument within movies, and obviously movies make strong reference that stem back to the Egyptian culture. So it's a very, very powerful kind of instrument, as it were, lit up in our night sky. I believe majority of the world is lucky enough to see these stars that once lit the way for our ancient brothers, as it were. So that's why I really, 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 really do love this gaming title. I'm about to take us on that journey to the Orion cluster, guys. Orion cluster, the Orion Nebula. It's just I find that to be very amazing. Not to mention that everything out here was, in a sense, made. Everything that we're seeing on the screen right now was made for us, human beings. So it just goes to show just how important life is for human beings, guys. It's hard to stay away from things that are not personal, or that are personal, when addressing these matters, because it just goes to show just how important life is. So from our standpoint, it's not nice if we say to ourselves, well, you know, if someone does me wrong, or if I feel like I'm in a higher position than someone else, I'm gonna take advantage of my power over this person. Not necessarily trying to hint towards anything, but trying to say that you don't try and zap someone else's life away from someone else because you feel that you have the right or the power to do so. No matter who you are, no matter who another person is, everyone deserves to live life to the full, and everyone deserves to live in a fashionable way. No one was born to be in subjection to another man, as it were, and especially not no female. So allow people to walk on the world, to live on the world, and to manifest the world just the same way how you would like to your darn self. So that's my aspect, because we can see the beauty of this and how important life was intended for human beings. It's clearly something that's held dear and important from a spiritual standpoint, guys. As just a human standpoint, we don't want to die. When we wake up in the morning, we have things that we want to do, we have things that we do, and we have things that we would like to do. And that proves that life is very important and dear to us. We also have loved ones, we want the best for them. We have friends we want the best for, and we have ourselves, of course, we want the best for our darn selves. If you have someone that you find you have negative feelings towards, rather than expressing negative feelings towards that person and show them literally just how negative your thoughts and feelings are towards that person, rather than do that, turn away from that person and go to your loved ones, go to your friends, go to the ones that actually care about you, that's got something nice to say to you. don't turn to the negative and show attention there, because at some point, sometime in the future, that negative is likely going to turn around and, you know, actually pay attention to you. Anyway, guys, what we're seeing here is the Orion's belt, something that I noticed from a ways out. Another interesting thing that I found fascinating was the name of the stars in the Orion's belt. It came to my attention that they're actually Middle Eastern names. I'm not sure if they're names that was taken out of Egypt itself, or if they're names that's around the peninsula of those regions, which I thought was actually pretty fascinating, and I was actually proud to my darn heart to know. Put a little rejoicing there, because I was fascinated. It is something that I would like to look into my darn self, though, who the Egyptian race were, like more intently, and why it was that their nation actually came to a screeching halt. I can't remember how bad or how abrupt that situation was, which is why I want to kind of go over that again. And now that I'm in the Orion's cluster, it'll probably be a good time for me to look into. As you can see, I'm now flying 19 light years per second, guys. I was flying about 6 light years per second from the Heart Nebulae to the Orion's cluster at my own free leisure, guys. I have been flying for about I would say about 6 minutes, 8 minutes thus far, and we still got a few little minutes ahead of us. So the reason why I sped it up is because I do want to keep it within that 15-minute range, otherwise the video would be far too long. Or I could make it last 5 minutes. I could make it last a second if I wanted to, guys, about 3 seconds. All I've got to do is scroll my mouse wheel. Now this is something that I would love to see in titles like Star Citizen. I don't like the ideas of jump drives, like I was trying to mention before, simply because of I believe 0G is 0G, and if you accumulate mass into 0G, you end up with inertia. What is inertia? Inertia is dark matter. What is dark matter? The realm of the unknown, the alternate dimension, as it were, where a lot of hidden numbers are accumulated. And when the universe says to itself, okay, now that you've become God, as it were, and you created a whole load of equations, you started your equation, but you have not finished your equation. What do I do with all these numbers? Because they got to be applied somewhere, somehow, some way. And this is what I personally believe is illogical sense. Logical sense is believing that because you came up with an equation, it's automatically going to end the equation its darn self, like gravity. If you jump up on Earth, you land back down on the ground. It's done for you. But in space, it's not. You actually become as like God. If you say you're going to start energy here, you got to do the equation to finish that energy. And so that's why I don't necessarily personally believe in jump drives. Sci-fi, it's a way of making things possible, but I would prefer the notion of being able to freely move through space, my darn self, having the option to use jump drives, because we do love jump drives, don't we, guys? I do like the idea of moving through space at whatever kind of speeds I can. There's the names of the stars, guys. The last name, Mintaka, kind of sounds like a Japanese name, so that one was like quite a nice name as well. That had a nice little ring to it. So you kind of go with like the highway system in space. What do I mean? When you go into a system or near a system that's occupied or claimed, you kind of say to yourself, you're only allowed to move at this speed per second, per minute, per hour, whatever. Once you come out of that system, you're able to reach your maximum speed again at whatever your maximum speed may or may not be. Obviously, you have to control your speeds once you start getting close to a star system. Why? Because gravity. Once you're near gravity or in gravity, chances are you're going to have the effects of gravity upon your ship, which means you have to apply mass to your movement speed and to velocity and not necessarily momentum but force. You know, like if you're on Earth and you start moving forward really fast, there's a little bit of drag upon you. That drag can be known as pressure. If you're quick enough, you can actually squish yourself on the spot. If you're moving too quick in space and you come into gravity, you know, it'd be like you've just flown into a serious steel wall. You know, you're squished like a pancake. So you want to control your speeds manually, and I think that's very important. I would personally like it if it was not feeling like a game, but if it felt like a simulator, to where you really have to use your own wisdom, your own knowledge, your own understanding of things, and you really communicate with your ships, MFDs, etc., and your team to understand that, you know, you have to know how to maneuver, especially within like a cloud like this. Chances are this cloud is full of gravity, because has mass, it has dense, and this is how planets are formed, etc., etc., and stars, etc. Chances are there's gravity in here. Anyway, guys, we just flown past the Orion's belt, where the 3 stars that are named to you guys. You can see the volumerics that we have here, which are beautiful, stunning. And this is a 3080 that I'm playing on, guys. So it's attainable for you guys as well. You don't need the best of GPUs to go soaring through your most you know, star systems. You can just whip up a 3080 to ensure that this is something you'll be able to attain your darn selves. So what I'm going to do here, guys, I'm going to look for a nice little star system within the Orion Nebula. And as we can see here, there's a world with 10 degrees, minus 10 degrees. You got 147 degrees, which I think is relatively neat, but the 10 degrees seems a bit more closer to home. So I'm going to go check that out. By the looks of it, it's a temperate arid terra, which means it's similar to Earth in multiple ways. I do want to kind of compare it to Earth via simulation to see just how accurate or just how close it identifies to us, to see if it's livable, to see if we could terraform it and try and make it livable, not just for us, but for our civilization. What I would like is to buy a moon that may be nearby, if it has water or some sort of element that we find to be very resourceful or very valuable. Then I could somewhat terraform the moon or whatever, and then sell the moon for like maybe 8 trillion or maybe a couple billion, and alongside that moon comes this beautiful world as well. So how does that sound? Anyway, guys, somewhere here, so I'm going to bring this nice little sweet jazz to a close. As you can see, we got the Andromeda system there. We could see the Andromeda from the Plutoid system, and it looks like it's size has not changed from where it was when we was over in the solar system. And as you can see, the transition here of colors and depth and the volumerics is just beautiful. Unfortunately, this does not load as quickly as Star Citizen though. When I was on my 1060 GTX, when I used to play it back in 2019, things loaded quite quickly, but on the 3080 it seems like it don't load so quickly. I'm not sure if that's got something to do with the updates and patches and, you know, bugs, or if that's something to do with settings. Maybe I'll go upgrade my settings now this time around. I'm not too sure. Something that we'll try to look into. But anyway, guys, as you can see, we have, what's that, 3 stars that we can see in our immediate view. So I'm going to take the highest position so I can take a good look at my surroundings. Like I said, the only thing missing in this is the ships, just like in Star Citizen. I do like floating about, but I really would like a ship moving at customary speeds as well, because why not? So as we can see, we got a sweet one right in front of us, that's helping to light this day. We have a tiny one there. We have another star there was 2, and then we got multiple stars up here that looks like a yellow, maybe giant, and then we got this blue one with a few more stars. So there's a lot going on this one, guys. I'm not sure if any of these are planets, so I'm gonna want to check this up when we come back. But anyway, guys, it's your boy Patience. I hope you like what you BC's then heard, and if you did, leave your thumbs, your likes, and those comments down below. Over and out, guys.